There's something you've probably been told about avoidance, and that is that they may run away, but they always come back. But just because they come back, it doesn't mean that they're going to stick around. In fact, the more you take them back, the more avoidants are primed to run away from you again, repeating the cycle. Now, this is called the boomerang effect, and it will keep you stuck in a toxic loop of abandonment and loneliness if you let it. But there are a few very simple fixes that can transform how your ex looks at you and compel them to commit to you for good. No more coldness and distance, no more unmet needs, just stability and connection that actually works the way that you want it to. So to stop this cycle, you first need to understand why avoidants so often come back after a breakup. And it comes down to one core contradiction. They want closeness, but they're scared of what closeness requires. They fear losing their freedom, being depended on too much, or feeling trapped inside the relationship. But at the same time, they deeply crave connection, intimacy, and the feeling of being truly known, often more than people realize. And that inner conflict is what creates the boomerang effect. So here's how it usually plays out. You meet, there's chemistry, things move quickly and feel exciting. They seem interested, affectionate, engaged, and then just as the connection starts to feel real, they pull away. Maybe they end it, maybe they just grow distant and hard to read, but either way, the person who was leaning in suddenly feels gone. And then comes the dark period. You wonder what happened. You reach out and you get cold replies, or no reply at all. It feels like they've turned into a different person overnight. And just when you start accepting that it's over, they come back. They miss you. They feel the loss. They reconnect with the version of the relationship that exists in memory, where the chemistry was strong and the pressure was gone. So you give it another shot. But once closeness returns, so does the discomfort they were escaping in the first place. Real intimacy, it asks for vulnerability and consistency, compromise, emotional presence. And if they still haven't dealt with the conflict inside themselves, they panic again. They tell themselves the relationship must be wrong, that you're not the one, that something is missing. So they pull away again, and the cycle continues. So how do you stop this from happening again? How do you make them stay and not just drift back into your life for a few weeks, but genuinely choose you for good? Well, first, avoid the mistake that most people make. They assume the problem must be them. They're too needy, too emotional, too demanding. So they lower their standards and make themselves smaller. Or they go in the other direction. They think, I need to do more, be sexier, be more fun, more spontaneous. If I just love harder, they'll finally stay. But they already have feelings for you. That was never the real issue. The issue is what happens when closeness becomes real and how your ex responds to it. So if you want an avoidant to stay, you need to stop feeding the pattern that makes them run away. And here is exactly how to do that. To make an avoidant stay, they need to feel safe getting closer to you, not pressured, trapped, or rushed. You can't force that with talks, with ultimatums, or intensity. That only drives them back into distance. What you want is for them to feel comfortable, secure, and naturally drawn to invest again. And this is how it's done. And it starts with number one, which was to signal emotional independence. Now, many people think that avoidants dislike romance or deep feelings, and usually that is not the real issue. What they struggle with is pressure, especially the feeling that someone else's emotional stability depends on them. And after a breakup, that pressure becomes even stronger. So if your ex feels like you're waiting on them to be okay, hoping they'll rescue your happiness, or centering your whole life around whether they come back, they're far more likely to pull away. So stop trying to prove how much you care. Show them something more powerful. Show them that you can stand on your own. Show them that your life still moves forward. Show them that wanting them is different from needing them. And you don't communicate emotional independence through speeches. Telling your ex, I don't need you. It just usually sounds bitter or defensive or manipulative. Instead, you show it through behavior. You focus on healing. You rebuild routines, you make progress in areas of your life that you neglected. You become steady again. And when you realize that you can be happy, functional, and fulfilled with or without them, the pressure you put on yourself begins to fade. And the pressure they feel from you often fades with it. They add to your life, but they no longer control it. And that is emotional independence. And number two is no more ultimatums. When you want your ex back, it's really easy to fall into a now or never mindset, right? You want certainty. You want to know where you stand so you can finally relax. The ambiguity feels unbearable. So when they say, I'm not sure, then you naturally respond with pressure. If you don't know by now, we're done. Don't talk to me unless you're ready to commit. Now, it may feel strong giving this kind of ultimatum in the moment, but frankly, it usually backfires. When somebody, already feels conflicted, forcing an immediate decision often pushes them toward the safest answer, which is no. Even if they still have feelings, uncertainty plus pressure rarely creates commitment. And avoidants feel this even more strongly. The harder you push for certainty, the more they're going to want distance. Now, there are exceptions. If they've been jerking you around for months, coming back, disappearing, keeping you in limbo, refusing clarity while expecting access to you, then an ultimatum may become the only healthy exit. But that is a last resort, not an opening move. So use it only after you've set boundaries, slowed things down, and followed a real plan. And if you need help building that plan, please go to breakupbrad.com/plan and try out my free algorithm. It's based on everything I've learned about breakups and how to beat them over my last 15 years as a breakup coach. Again, try it for free at breakupbrad.com/plan. And the third thing is to take the time that you both need. Getting back together is supposed to begin light and relaxed. You're not trying to, lock down a lifelong commitment on day one. You're seeing whether the connection is still there, whether they're still interested, and whether you're still interested too. And when people rush this stage, they usually create the very pressure that made the avoidant pull away in the first place. Think of it like a job interview. If they hired you before asking a single question, you might feel excited for a moment, and then suspicious. Why the rush? Why the desperation? And relationships work the same way. Moving too fast can feel flattering at first, but it often creates doubt underneath. I know you feel certain. You know you want them back, and you know you don't want to waste another week. But if you want something that lasts, an extra few weeks means really very little. And in many cases, slowing down doesn't delay the reunion at all. It often speeds it up. When pressure drops, your avoidant ex becomes more comfortable reaching out, taking initiative, and leaning back in naturally. And this matters for you as well, right? A lot of the urgency that you feel right now is pain talking. You want the relationship restored because you think it'll instantly end the anxiety, the loneliness, the confusion. But rushing back together rarely heals those feelings. It usually drags the same unresolved problems straight into round two. So the point is, take the time you both need. Let things breathe. Let trust rebuild. Let interest grow again. And that's how you stop a short reunion from turning into another breakup. And the fourth thing is accepting their confusion. Now, your avoidant ex's confusion is natural. I'll say that again, their confusion is natural. That doesn't mean you have to like it or that they've done nothing wrong. It just means that it's a normal human response given the situation and their attachment style. Because breakups are messy. They cause a lot of complicated emotions, especially for avoidants. So the fact that they're not certain doesn't say anything about their feelings towards you. It doesn't mean that they're never gonna come around or that your relationship is doomed. It doesn't even mean that if you do get back together, they're gonna continue to treat you this way. It just means they're confused. They're torn between their desire to maintain their autonomy and their desire to connect with you. Now this hurts, but it's not the end of the world, and it's certainly not permanent, but only if you don't make it worse. Because so many people in this situation will look at their avoidant ex and say, well, they hate me, they're seeing someone else, they're just using me, and then they'll lash out and push their ex away. And in their mind, this will prove that they were right all along, that their ex was just looking for a way out. But in many cases, they could have reconnected with their ex if they were able to just chill out a bit, stop making assumptions, and stop adding problems to the pile. Now, I'm not saying that you have to accept your ex's bad behavior. You just have to be intentional rather than emotional. You have to make choices, not just react. And you have to look at things as they are without putting a bunch of judgments on top of them. And that's actually what the next item on this list is all about. And that is number 5. Don't settle for the bare minimum. An avoidant is going to try to give you practically nothing and act like that's all they have to offer. But something happens when you refuse to accept their crumbs. It suddenly turns out that they can treat you better, be more present, and do more. And this is why you have to set strong boundaries with your ex. You need to show them that you won't settle for being just a late night hookup or a friend with benefits or someone they text with sometimes. And you can do this through your attitude and what you accept. So don't go over there at midnight. Don't text them back in seconds and cancel your plans on the off chance that they might want to hang out. Don't settle for anything less than solid plans and real attention. And when they start to stray, take a long time to reach out or just otherwise go cold, let them. And then match their energy. Be too busy for their bad behavior. And watch as they magically suddenly have time for you now that you're hard to find. Now, there is a way to screw this up. And it's by rejecting your ex, by belittling them, by begging for more, or by dismissing their attempts. Now, they may not be treating you how you deserve, but you're not going to change that by being cruel and hurtful. You're just going to make them feel rejected. You have to enforce these boundaries clearly and consistently, but also with kindness. So don't tell them that, they're being ridiculous by calling you at 1 a.m. for the third time this week. Just don't answer the phone. And number 6 is to increase connectedness. It's not only your ex's fear or mixed behavior that's keeping you apart. Often, it's that the connection between the two of you has gone flat. After a breakup, both people usually feel awkward, guarded, maybe unsure. So when they do spend time together, they often play it safe. Small talk, surface level catch-ups, sex without closeness, pretending everything's normal. And then they wonder why nothing changes. If you want an avoidant ex to stay, there has to be something real pulling them back in. Not pressure, not talks about labels, not ultimatums, but genuine connection. That usually comes through experiences, not heavy conversations. In many cases, you'll need to take the first step here because avoidants do tend to keep avoiding, right? But that also gives you an advantage. You can choose the right moment when some of the awkwardness has passed and curiosity is building again. Now, one of my recent clients was spending time with her ex regularly, but nothing was progressing for her. They would talk, they would hook up, and a few hours later, he'd leave. It felt like, there was an invisible wall between them. So I asked what they used to enjoy together when things were still good. Her face lit up. She said they used to like to play crib, the card game. They'd played it for years, shared countless fun memories around it. And one night, she casually suggested a quick game. And that simple moment brought back warmth, familiarity, and the version of them that actually worked. And soon after, they were back together for good. Your moment might be cooking together, going for a drive, revisiting an inside joke, or sharing a long, genuine hug. But the point is this: people reconnect when they feel something real together again. Without that, most reunions stay stuck on the surface. And that's it for now, guys. Before you go, please don't forget to give this video a like and give me a quick subscribe as well if it helped you out at all. I really appreciate it. Best of luck. See you again soon.